Greetings everyone, welcome to Advance. This game was played in FIDE World Cup and it happened in round 3, and with the white pieces we have the current reigning world champion. We have Gukesh Dommaraju facing off against Fredrik Svane, and the thing is that this game is an epic game and you're really going to adore this one. So without further ado, let's start with this game. Fredrik Svane is roughly 120 points below than Gukesh, but his rating actually does not completely do justice to his level of play. He played spectacularly in FIDE Swiss as well, so let's see what he does with the black pieces here. Just e4 by Gukesh. We have e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to c4. And we have this knight to f6. This is the Italian game, 2 knights defense. And we have d3, bishop to c5 now, and now just going for castles, d6, c3, and just a5, taking up more space. And well, what can you do rather than play a4? But in this position, first rook to e1, just developing that piece, and here just castles. And now in this position, you can go for this bishop to g5, and after h6, just play bishop to h4, and yes, g5 would be played, but not capturing it. Now just going for this bishop to g3, and after bishop to a7, all the way back. Now you just go for this knight to a3, bishop to g4, knight to c2, and after bishop to h5, just a4 in this position, and the game goes on with both players having roughly equal chances. But in this position, Gukesh just went for this h3, doesn't allow the bishop to be developed, and just h6 by Fredrik, and here just knight bd2 and bishop to b6 in this position, and just a4, finally just taking back that space and not allowing a4 to be played in this position. And here just bishop to d7 now, b3, bishop to e6, asking for a trade. And do you want to trade and give a massive center to black? Absolutely not. So here bishop to b2 was played, allowing the trade to happen, but it won't do anything because the thing is that you're just giving me a massive center and definitely it won't be good for you. So here just king to h8, rook to a2, and just knight to h5 was played. Now, that knight is definitely jumping to f4 and you need to be really careful. Here just knight to f1 was played, knight to f4 now, and just bishop to c1, queen to f6. So you can see that the knight being here and the queen being here, there's something building up and you don't want that to happen. So maybe somewhere along the line trading it is going to be a decent option, but it just knight to g3, g5 immediately. And Fredrik is really in a mood to be able to mix things up and to be able to try and win this game with the black pieces, and Gukesh is going to have to be really careful in this position. You can try to go for this central thrust because you can see that the knight is being defended here by the pawns, but the thing is that center is still left open, so you can go for this d4 in this position and your position would be really nicely. Yes, g4, but after this you can just go for this bishop caps on f4, first trading that, and after g caps on f3, bishop to e3 in this position. And although you could take this pawn, but that is not the best move in this position, you can go for this e caps on d4, and after c captures, just knight captures, and after bishop captures, knight to h5, attacking the queen, queen to e5, and here just queen caps on f3. After grabbing this, you can see that, you know, once you look at this position where there is g5 being played, every piece is settled in, bishop is already eyeing this, the knight can jump into the game, and somewhere along the line, you know, all those sacrifices becomes possible, and you see this position, it just looks a lot more comfortable that you can try and defend. But here after g5, just knight to h2 was played by Gukesh, trying to, you know, maybe take over this square, but here just queen to g6, after bishop to e3, just d5 even. And now the center is with black, the king side is with black, and white doesn't have that many squares in this position, and that's going to be somewhat of a problem somewhere along the line because you don't want to give everything to black if the initiative is with black, and if the king side pawns are pushed by black, if the center is with black, all he has to do is just get the rooks into the game and start a very nice attack, and you're going to be left defending. And if somewhere along the line you're not able to find the right idea and you blunder even just a little bit, your entire position would crumble. So Gukesh need to work on that. Here just e caps on d5 was played, and now just comes bishop captures. All of this is forced. Here just bishop caps on b6, c captures, and just knight to f3 in this position, just getting the knight back from h2. You're no longer going to need that knight to come on g4, so that's why in this position just knight to f3 was played by Gukesh. And here just rook a to d8, just getting that rook very nicely aligned with the queen. Somewhere along the line this is going to be an option as well. And now just comes rook to d2. You could have also gone for this bishop caps on d5 in this position, and after rook captures, played d4. Yes, you can go for this because here after e caps on d4 and c captures, here just rook f to d8, trying to just completely pile up there, and it looks like it's difficult, but you can just play rook to d4 and yes, g4. But after h captures, queen captures, the game goes on. There are a lot of moves you can play. You can go for queen to c1, you can go for rook to e3, queen to a1 is also an option because, you know, the king is very nicely aligned there, so you can just pin it there and the game goes on. It could be anyone's game, but still, I mean, you're not that much of in a pickle than you think you would. But here after rook a to d8, rook to d2 was played immediately by Gukesh, not going for any trades, and just bishop caps on c4. So that does ruin your pawn structure. In the beginning I told you that if bishop captures is ever played, then after this pawn captures you have a center, so the game goes on and you don't have to worry about anything. But now in this position, when there is no center and when the queen and the rook are already piling up, whatever you take it with, it's going to be an annoying pawn structure if you take it with the b pawn. And you can see that those three pawns are going to be a nuisance, and somewhere along the line they will be attacked and they will be weak. You're going to have to defend them throughout the game, and that's something not something that you want to do. So here d caps on c4 has to be played, although you could go for b caps on c4 and the game will go on. With rook caps on d3 you're going to have to sacrifice a pawn, but still, it's not something I think you should want to do. And here in this position, d caps on c4, capturing away from the center by Gukesh. But here just comes f6, just strengthening the structure and just asking Gukesh, what are you going to do with this position, because you're not in a good position here, and that's absolutely true. Here knight to e4, and now just comes this rook caps on d2, queen captures rook to d8, now attacking the queen. And where are you going to put the queen? The trouble for you is that the knights are, well, one of the knight is decently placed, one of the knight is placed in a position that it's not doing that very much, and the queen has to be active. This knight is a nuisance. Somewhere along the line you're going to have to go for g3, but you need that pawn protected for that, and the queen is already eyeing this. The rook is occupying this entire file. The knight can anytime jump into the game, and you're gonna have to be really careful, because this one piece is out of the game. Just everything is active in black's corner. What is active in yours? Absolutely nothing aside from this knight. So you have to be really careful and get your pieces active, otherwise you're just going to be stuck defending throughout the game, and happening this with you with the white pieces is not something that you would want to have. Here queen to e3 by Gukesh, and now just comes f5. So Fredrik here just completely pushing in, and now just comes this knight to g3, but knight to d3 in this position, and that knight is a beautiful piece there on d3. A rook to d1 has to be played, but now comes even f4, attacking the knight, attacking the queen. Queen needs to move, only move his queen to e3, because now after this captures you would want to capture and get the knight to e4, but unfortunately here just king to h7. He's saying that you want to capture, you get my king some activity, only way that I'm allowing this. Queen captures, king captures, and just knight to e4 was played, and just comes king to f5. And in this position you need to find the right idea. So I'm going to ask you to pause the video, try and find out this only move in this position which gives you some chance of staying alive and just getting to play on in the World Cup. So have at it, find the move. So congratulations to everyone who's able to find this idea. The move is g4 check, and yes, it was important to realize that king captures on e4 cannot be played because of this knight to d2 checkmate, because the pawn is covering both of these squares, and that would be an amazing checkmate if it existed on the board, but obviously no one is going to fall for it. But g4 is a move that you have to. And yes, here f caps on g3 could be played en passant, and after knight captures you just go for king to e6 in this position. But after knight to e4 again, knight to c5, knight caps on c5, b captures, rook to d2, and here after b6 the game goes on with both players having roughly equal chances. If you trade this, then most likely what's going to happen is you're going to allow black to come back into the game. Yes, black is a little bit better, but again you can try and hold this position to a draw. But here after king to f5, just knight f2 d2 was played, and now somewhere along the line you're going to be in trouble, because here after knight to c5, just rook to e1, and just this rook to e1 is not going to cut it. And the problem with both of these pairs is that they are very much low on the clock, and they still need to make 7 more moves to reach time control. And here just knight to d3 was played, attacking the rook moves, and just h5. So it's easy, and that's the trouble for Fredrik here with the black pieces. The position is very active, his king is very active, his knights are very active, the rook is placed on knight square, and all of these moves are just going to come naturally. For Gukesh, on the other hand, he's going to have to defend and suffer through this endgame, and it's going to be not that easy to find the right ideas. And one mistake, I told you, just one mistake, even back then I told you, just one mistake that's going to happen, and it's going to take everything away. Here just king to f1 and knight to c5 was played, but now just comes even f3, defending everything, but just comes this rook to d3, attacking everything in this position. And if that rook gets inside the position, it's going to be a really bad. Here king to f2, now just comes g4, and just h captures, and rook to e1 in this position. But in this position just g3 check, and king is pushed backward. Here king to e2, but here just rook to e3 check, and now the position is crumbling. King to d1, rook captures, king captures, and here king to e6 was played. But it's going to be very difficult to try and hold this endgame. All of these pawn structures are absolutely amazing. All you have to do is just trade one knight, and then you can start to push in this game. Here king to e2 was, if you had just gone for this, maybe you can try and survive. Knight to d7, you just play knight to g5 check, king to f5, knight to e4, and here after king to e6 against c5. You have to sack a pawn to be able to get some initiative going, and after b captures, just play knight to g5 check again, king goes to d5, and after knight to c4, b6, you have some chances to be able to survive this game. Obviously not complete chances, but you have some chances to be able to hold this. Yes, you're at a -1 disadvantage, but still, I mean, that's better than, losing the game. But here after king to e6, just king to d1 was played, and now just comes trouble because here just knight to e7, remaneuvering that knight, and somewhere along the line that knight can jump here, 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 and there, and then it's going to be really a nuisance. Here king to e2 was played now, but it's a bit too late because now you've lost your tempo. And here knight to g5 check, king to e7, and just knight to e4, but now just comes this king to e6, and again knight to g5. Both of these plays repeating moves because they need to just get some time on their clock. It's move 47, but still the endgame has scorched every single moment in their time, and now they have to just get some of the time. Here just king to f6, now just comes knight to e4 check, king to e7, and here just knight caps on c5, p captures, and just knight to e4 again. Gukesh should not have traded that piece because now with one knight left, problem for him is going to be, it's going to be very difficult to try and defend everything. He just p6 was played defending everything, but he's pushed to the back foot, and it seems it's difficult to try and break through in this position. But Fredrik Svane definitely would have known that this position is completely winning for him. Otherwise, he would not have pushed here. King to d3, now just comes knight to h4, and now you cannot save that pawn. And king to d3 was a horrible mistake in this position. But if you ask me what is better in this position other than king to d3, well, you're gonna have to suffer with king to f1, and that's not a great side to have, to be able to just be suppressed by a knight in this position. And unfortunately, that was the only move. Or you could try to go for b4 and just sacrifice a pawn. But either way, I mean, b4 would have just completely lost the game because after he captures, other than that, you don't have anything. But still, king to f1 only move in this position. But here king to d3 was played, and now it's completely lost. Here just knight to h4, b4 now trying to do something, but it's not going to happen. Knight captures, b caps on c5, b captures, and here knight caps on c5 was played, creating a pass pawn. But you cannot hold it. Here just knight to e3, and that pass pawn is going to be pushed. Unfortunately for you, here they are creating a wall, so you cannot even get inside here, and I don't know how you can do anything here. King to e2 was played, but now in this position just knight caps on c4 was played by Fredrik, and unfortunately in this position on move 55, Gukesh resigned the game, and this was their second game, and with that Gukesh is out of the World Cup. And that happened at a very unfortunate moment, because I told you, getting towards the back foot throughout the entire game, just one blunder in time pressure is going to cost this. And the trouble for Gukesh was that whatever you do in this position, it's just a really lost endgame. Here if you try to go for anything, let's just say knight caps on c4 played by Fredrik, it just comes knight to d3, but now just comes king to d6. All you have to do is get the king into the game, and the position is completely lost. Knight to c1, king to c5. So how are you ever going to stop that king from coming inside your position? King to e1, just king to d5, and after knight to d3, even knight to e3. Knight to b2, if you try to go for, then just comes e4 and breaking through, and there's nothing you can do. If king to e2 now just comes king to e5, c4, knight to f5 in this position, and after c5, I'm just going knight to d4 check. You cannot even push the pawn. I'm capturing this as well. It just king to e1, but just e caps on f3. Knight to c4 check, king to e4, and after knight to d6 check, king to d3, and you can just resign because you cannot push it here. That pass pawn is pushing. Those pass pawns are pushing towards queening, and there is not much you can do. That's why here after king to e2, knight caps on c4 was played, and in this position Gukesh resigned the game. And Fredrik, like, really kudos to him. Although as much as I hate to see Gukesh out of the tournament, he completely had the charge throughout the game, and he was pushing like he wanted to win the game completely. And that's why he was able to get it, because he pushed Gukesh towards the back foot. And it's very unfortunate to see Gukesh lose this one, because the trouble is he was playing very well right from the beginning. I mean, his games were absolutely amazing, but right after this round 3, he was supposed to push with the white pieces, but he did not, and unfortunately it came to a very saddening end. And Gukesh again was one of the favorites to be able to win the entire thing, so this is gonna be stingy very much, definitely. But again, I think if he had gotten one chance like Prague did in the tie breaks, where he went on to play so many games and was able to understand that this is going to be tough for every single person, no matter the ratings, because many 2700 players got eliminated right in round 2. So Prague got that reality check right there when he played like 7 or 8 games, and he came like inches away from being eliminated. And once you get that reality check, it's not about that he's not the stronger player. That's not the reality check is about. This reality check is about that he may be the stronger player and he is the top seed, but everyone is gonna fight till the end. And that's what Prague realized, that it's really tough. And in the interview itself, he said that even he came very close, and he should have been one of the eliminated 2700 rated players, but he got lucky and he survived. And I think that's what Gukesh needed as well. Just one chance to get lucky, to be able to understand that the competition is definitely strong. And once you come inches away from getting eliminated, then you again just go and absolutely crush your competition. And I think that's what Prague is going to do. If Gukesh had that chance, maybe he would have done as well, but unfortunately here he just could not. But either way, he played spectacular chess at European Club Cup as well, so let's see what he has in store for the end of the year. Let's see what's going to happen there. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'll be coming back with some of these amazing games, so stay tuned to the channel, stay updated, and I'll be seeing you guys very, very soon. Thank you very, very much for watching.